Hello, welcome. This is another broadcast, this one for the upcoming lunar eclipse in Scorpio. I've just briefly taken a look at the positions of the planets, so we're not going to talk precisely about what's coming in, but the two elements that I want to focus on, in addition to the opposition of the Sun and the Moon themselves, are the personal planets Venus and Mars, and many of us will recognize the energies easily as the general expression of the feminine and masculine polarities within ourselves and the dynamics that play out in our social gaming. And so what I want to focus on here is we have Mars at 19 degrees of Pisces today, and Chiron, the wounded healer, is at 15 degrees approximately, meaning that the masculine polarity, our willingness to assert, to be courageous, to be proactive, to take action on the inspiration that we've received, that element is struggling. There's friction and tension between the social persona that we've adopted and adapted to, and the comfort that predictability and the shell and shroud of the acceptance that comes with that, and how that expansion energy is coming through to tell Hermit Crab that he's outgrown this shell and it needs to be either transformed, renewed. Somehow we've got to expand our energy beyond the confines of this illusionary cage that we've allowed ourselves to. This shell buffers us from the eyes and ears that can't hear our message the way it's intended, and so we've adopted these personas instead of allowing the personality to reach out. There's limitations and restrictions in the flow, like a blocked hose that the water can't quite come out. It becomes highly pressurized, and it might there might be some breakthroughs, outbursts or something like that to do with our wounded nature. When we show ourselves to someone, maybe we're looking for their acceptance, and there's this element of self-doubt in some type of a way. So wherever your natal Chiron is at, it's the idea of non-acceptance because of some type of a way that we identify with as being some type of unacceptable, perhaps shadow element of the personality. So if yours is in Aries, it's the inability to really feel at home in your skin and a sense of being a starter, being supported for your unique, independent nature. In Taurus, it might be personal self-expression, body image, and feeling of prosperity in your life. In Gemini, it's speaking and being authentic and not merely mirroring those around us and their expectations and just parroting the accepted narrative for others. Cancer, it may be issues around the home, and that is the sign of the crab. So that's coming out of your shell and being able to appear in all your beautiful vulnerability and not to become fearful, I think, in staying in your hermit crab. Yeah, okay, so we'll stop there. You can look up your own placements, or you can definitely book a private reading. We can look into your particular chart, but those are just some ideas of the people that are surrounding us and how they may not have a problem speaking, while another person may not have a problem getting started in their entrepreneurial ends, but someone else may have both of those issues that they're overcoming. So the first card we have popping out here is 24, Earth. The light is making it a little difficult for you to see that. Let's get a couple more here. Belief 11 is under the deck here. There we go. Beautiful guiding light energy. And then we have coming out here, delight. Third eye chakra. Integration. All right. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is Jupiter, having just transitioned into the sign of Aries, is going to be staying there until next spring with a one retrograde cycle that'll have it dipping back into the Piscean sky. And while it's in Aries, it's going to come into contact with Venus very soon here, right around the time of our lunar eclipse coming up in Scorpio. And Jupiter right now is at 0 degrees during this filming, putting it at a critical degree, right around the 30th degree, when a sign is at the precipice of pushing into new territory. It's a culmination of the objectives and motivations of the previous sign and a birth of inspiration into the realm of influence that the next sign has upon it. So Jupiter is very strong, bringing in a lot of abundance, prosperity, blessings, but it's bringing in expansion of anything it touches. It's that Midas touch that came out the other day. So as it touches Venus, it's touching on our divine feminine issues, our sense of self-presentation, our attractiveness, our ability to attract abundance, money, partnership, acceptance, belonging. And it's the self-respect that we invest in. It's the sacredness of the inner temple that feminine is. And from that sense of security, we're able to activate the divine masculine, and then from that secure inner center of magnetism and understanding and coherence of the heart and the mind and how they function as a system, then is able, as the masculine aspect, to self-discover and self-motivate to, well, now that I know this about myself, I wonder what this question or this curiosity implies. And so it's the ability to feel secure in reaching out for what we want and hearing, and to expand from that point. So for feminine, we have popping out 14, communication, under the earth card for the masculine. The delight card in the masculine is followed by allowance. So we've got 9 under 19. Interesting, with a 9 and a 10. Correlating to the hermit and the sun card. So maybe we're talking about an introvert, extrovert type of, and again, I always say this, but the divine masculine feminine polarity we're talking about here is primarily meant to be applied to the inner self, developing its own ability to be its own self-sustaining, closed-loop system in many ways. But then, you know, as we always talk, there's always that extended self of the others. Allowing talks about us being in the flow of communication. Sorry to pause. The next card coming out is coherence. 13 under the third eye chakra. We already talked about coherence this time, right? And lastly, romantic love coming under integration. So, and still belief under the deck here, so that's great. We'll put that over here at the end of both rows. So I'm seeing the masculine is integrating the lifetime lessons that has the divine limitations that we each engage mentally, coming out of our head space and into our heart space, as the Daily Dharma was talking about today, into a divine flow. So as the masculine is working on integrating probably acceptance of his or her, of our underbelly, our vulnerabilities, our misjudged expectations for self or others, I'm seeing that integration of shadow and light aspects opening up the third eye chakra, vivid dreaming becoming. I'm really hearing something. I wonder if it's bullfrogs? It's a new noise. I tell you, the marsh is waking up out there. I'm sorry to keep pausing. So yeah, that reminds me, the first card we had popping out for the masculine is Earth. So perhaps that's why that messenger is bringing me to its attention, or bringing itself to my attention, is taking action to give something root, to connect with the earth, to use the earth in a certain way. And that also talks about something that we are excited to bring into this world, but have been believing limitations of ourselves or others, or believing those stories of limitation that others have projected onto us, like, oh, well, nobody ever wins it big. Oh, you want to be a rapper, everybody wants to go be a rapper. You want to be a YouTube star, then go ahead and be your YouTube star. You know, whatever you want to do, people will tell you all day long that they can't do it, but that doesn't mean that they understand that you can't do it, right? And I'm just using that as one thing, because we'll see a lot of people pursuing these things and not getting it. And I believe that most of those individuals, it's because it's really not motivated by the correct calling. Maybe some of these people just want fame and fortune, and then since their desire is superficial, their impact will be superficial. That doesn't mean that they won't have millions of followers, because my friend was mentioning today that illusion of sameness, that pursuit of sameness, it's really just like that dream thief. The more that you try to be like everyone else, the less influence and impact you'll have, the less relevance you'll have, because you're a dime a dozen. You cheapen yourself when you shut down your individuality, your uniqueness, and when you play it safe. You won't feel this delight. You won't be able to really put your roots deep into the earth for that sense of harmonic resonance that you would otherwise feel right at home with. I'm even for the first time seeing almost superimposed down in the base of this card. You can kind of see it on the screen. Is that grass? My friend was talking specifically about being a weed in a garden. It was a very neat concept. So there's definitely something here, maybe integrating with others, because we already were talking about the feminine aspect here, feeling themselves very safe in their space. And I do feel like recently many of us have been. Maybe that's just because my perspective is from, it's just been winter here. It gets cold in the winter. People don't come out in the winter. People get gloomy and grumpy because of the lack of sunshine. So there's so many things that bring in that sense of delight and inspiration. Definitely one of them is the vitamin D that comes from the sun, the activation codes that come from being literally in nature, because we need to get back in touch with our divine nature, which is supposed to be in harmonic resonance with the earth itself, rather than with our devices and with other people's stories, and with any type of pursuit of fame, fortune. Those things are obviously not as, it's not that those don't have their place, and it's not that it's not spiritual to want abundance either. We've engaged with as many of those narratives as possible at this point, and I feel like the newer enlightened minds, those that are seeking and getting their messages now, are being told that the old days of getting a haircut and getting a real job to just push a lever for the rest of your life is no way to live. That's literally the hamster cage, and being trained to just push your lever all day long. Yeah, you'll keep getting pellets, but wouldn't you rather go out and find some juicy, succulent berries on a wild bush and eat the grubs from the grass? If that's, not me, I don't eat grubs from grass, but like if you're that wild animal, that hamster, I don't know what they eat. Maybe they're vegetarians. Am I ruining the metaphor? I hope you're following me. So yeah, it's no way to live when we're accepting less than we deserve. Pellets are so unappealing, right? Who wants to eat pellets? These messages. All right, moving on. So there's a limiting belief structure for the masculine that's taken up resonance, and it's crowding out self-belief and the assertive ability to really believe courageously, wholeheartedly in a dream, or has in the past. And it's really getting to the point where we're moving past that. And then in the near future, Mars will be connecting with Neptune, which is right at the end of Pisces, right behind Jupiter. And Jupiter has just recently been in contact with Neptune for a longer period of time. And so Jupiter's kind of already been there, done that, and is now coming forward to inform that feminine aspect. And then later this fall, we'll be going back and hitting up Neptune, that higher octave of Venus. And then when Mars is coming forward, we'll be connecting with the higher aspect of Venus, Neptune, prior to moving into the next sign of Aries, where he's much more comfortable, by the way, than in the sign of Pisces. So Mars in Pisces, well, maybe there's something else there. Now that I'm thinking about it, I do believe Mars may be exalted in Pisces because of the element of compassion, compassionate use of flow. I really need to do my studies. But it's interesting to see how those elements come and exchange energies as they do. So maybe we're being told that Mars is engaging with the glamour aspect of the feminine at this point. And if this is all an internal message for you, maybe you're really excited about a potentiality and you've drawn yourself in a certain light, and there's this background fear that's holding you back, wondering if you've got it straight, if you've got it right, or maybe you should just hold back till you've got it all together. It's like, I'm just bringing these messages to you as it is, but it's like there's definitely something about the way that we allow ourselves to speak what we understand and allow those messages that feel divine and true in our heart of hearts to be communicated in a way that's still meaningful. Even if we don't have all the facts, it doesn't change the message, right? There's that core of truth. Many of us are already being channels, but we just don't understand that we are. So there's this understanding that the feminine is bringing to the situation. Maybe it's just from looking back at the previous evidence of our manifestations. Maybe you've recently made a huge shift in your belief structure that is helping you to integrate these life lessons, and there's actually finally now hard material evidence all around you of the sheer delight and the rewards that have come into your life. And so now there's something to be presented. So you have done your introspection, gathered, and now you have something to bring out. You've understood something very deeply within your core that's coming out. So Yeah, and with this Taurus opposite Scorpio, this is definitely letting go of anything that's holding us back, letting go of those old messages, letting go of retaliation, bitterness, suspicion, and following our intuition and our instincts. So we've also just had Mercury going retrograde too. And so this is causing us all to be a little more introspective, and those that are trying to push forward as though the shift isn't evident are going to probably encounter things like technical difficulties, issues with miscommunication. Sometimes our data may be backed up, or an app crashing, things like that. Just crossed wires sometimes, things like that. Maybe there's a distance between what we believe in our heart of hearts, what we're motivated, and what we want in our lives, and what we've seen evidenced by the past. And we're clearing out, integrating greater self-value now because there's been this evidence, and speaking a new narrative into your life. And this keeps coming up. And so definitely with Taurus, we've got the Sun is with the North Node in Taurus, making that an eclipse, and the Moon being with the South Node in Scorpio. And then we've also got Uranus in the sign of Taurus too, making Taurus the sign where there's been some old stagnant energies. And if you know tarot, think about that Hierophant energy, where that traditional, dogmatic, patriarchal, societal, institutional type teachings and ministering has really led to a lot of very stagnant thought forms and stagnant energies that no longer serve the evolutionary objective. And so Uranus comes through to be that revolutionary, rebellious energy that shakes things up and says, is this really all you want? Is this pellet really the nourishment that you're after? Splitting the deck here, we have straddling worlds and skywriting the fates. So something perhaps has been coming into your world for a very long time. We keep seeing these energies coming through, and I'm seeing this skywriting the fates as you having felt connected to some type of purpose, calling, destiny for some time, perhaps your entire life. Maybe you were one of us that came in fairly lucid, and perhaps then what we're talking about for the masculine may be a lot of different situations that have gaslit you or gassed you up and then love bombed you and then dropped you flat. Needing to recognize that your value does not depend on the acceptance or approval or validity or verification, confirmation of your messages and your worth and value, or your attractability, or your anything. The way that you choose to live your life, if you don't adhere to the social constructs of sameness, then you're an example of a glitch in the matrix. And everyone else are just assimilation clones. Little AI. So yeah, we're here to write our own destiny, to write our own fate to a certain extent through our choices, but there are sometimes soul contracts, I believe, that many of us have come in really being motivated to pursue. Underneath, this is so beautiful. Whale song resonating. This came out a few days ago. The consciousness evolution train. It's this very beautiful concept of awakening everyone, right? And we've got that resonance we're talking earlier about, that the DNA activation and our redirections in the way that we funnel information, what we resonate with, the soul harmonics that either we bump up against and then are redirected elsewhere. Are we making our lives one that we live based on pursuit of love, joy, and abundance, and positive redirection, and moving with the flow, allowing what develops to guide us and show us and to help us to be resilient and to find a way as that small seedling to reach up through the canopy as straight as possible to reach for the sun that's going to sustain us. And we can't play small if we want to survive. But that doesn't mean don't be humble, right? I think you get what I mean. But Whale Song Resonance is about coming together with like-minded individuals. I know right now I've been really putting out my intentions that I'd really like to call in my tribe. That's what I'm doing every day, meeting with you guys, this collective group that will be coming to see these videos in the timeless future, and putting forth these messages is it's calling out across time and space, dimensions of reality, to all of those that are looking for these messages. And your mind, your thoughts, your heart song, your DNA and your heart harmonics are toning every day while you're speaking things from the ethers into reality through the sight and the symbols that you perceive, and the suspicions or trust and opportunities or roadblocks that you engage. And if you see a roadblock, I did that little head bob, you can't see my hands, I'm seeing somebody like the bob and weave. If you're a boxer, bobbing and weaving, moving out of the way. If you're like some of these people, like that kung fu, pushing and deflecting and using the incoming energy, the kinetic force of whatever's coming at you, and just simply staying in your space and letting them just move past you simply by moving, right? And letting our choice and our resonance gently direct us instead of this aggression that has been taught to us. Oh, be suspicious. Oh, you should get one up on them first type of tit for tat BS. Whale Song is like, you can resonate with this ecstatic, delightful, beautiful gratitude and abundance, prosperity mindset just by tapping into the beauty of nature, among other things that we've talked about. But I don't want all these videos to all be the same. Woodwives, this came out in the pre-shuffle, and so I looked it up. If you could see more of this card. There we go. So this shows to me a rebirth. She's got this brand new look to her, but also these fall leaves. But there's this halo of energy, and it reminds me of the way that they draw enlightened religious figures. There's this auric glow around the crown, but then also around the body. And I'm seeing swirling energy around. It says adaptability, Woodwives, 64. It's another 10. And yeah, so I was getting, at the beginning, when I first saw this card, an element of that stagnancy, of being rooted to one area, perhaps where you grew up. Somebody who may not have had as many opportunities to travel versus somebody who has, and that developing and rounding the experience, and whether or not you have the material budget to travel. Now the internet gives us the ability to move out and to explore, and even reading was the way that we could do that before, and there's so many ways to enter into that third eye pineal sight, that sighted nature. And I'm hearing two sort of semi-conflicting messages. It's important to stay grounded and secure and to know where we come from, because if we know where we come from, we can retrace the cord back to our origins. We can go down to the taproot, to the core of the earth, symbolically, and draw up the sustenance from the earth. But then it's also so important to maintain flexibility, like they talk about the way that the willow branches sway and the way that it's able to dig its deep roots into the water table and draws up the water from the land, and then its branches sway. So even if one of the branches does fall, then there's a gazillion more that are ready to take its place. It's just prolific. But comparing that with a hardened oak tree in a very stiff wind, like a tornado, the perfect storm, such as we had earlier, in that chaos, rigidity breaks. Rigidity isn't reality because change is the only constant in here. So there's that adaptability in whatever we were taught, whatever roots we were given. We need to perceive our ability to also fly. The wings are ready. Spirit of the river, movement towards adventure. Yes, there's something like an adventure is nigh. So maybe you haven't traveled much and now you're getting the opportunity to do that. But even on the metaphorical, symbolic level, if this is just you tapping into that inner sight, to your inner communication, yes, allowing communication and coherence between heart and mind, the development of the inner channel and the honoring of the messages that coming through being of your highest and for your highest good. Okay, very interesting. So yeah, there's this inflow of consciousness and new messages, and I'm definitely seeing this allowance more on the feminine polarity. So an influx of psychic ability and channeling coming through. Two more. Caterpillar, opportunity. This very much looks like shrouded cloaking. There's that sameness energy, again, that mirroring image that we talked about with that Heyoka mirroring Gemini type energy that comes through. And Gemini is the card of the lovers. So, very interesting. Cat, we all know the other word for cats. There's something here about the glamour, the exalted nature. Somebody's putting someone else on a pedestal, and they're, by the nature of exalting another, you're in danger of slipping into demeaning your own value. So be real careful about that. And we keep talking about sameness. Look at what's under here. Mindful, groupthink. So do your best to simplify what you're giving your thought to. Yes, it's energy being trapped up in the crown and in the pineal gland. And those that have experienced elements of gaslighting or engineered reality, programming, socially or otherwise, we're all breaking free from these aspects, these false narratives. It's time to wake up. It's time to remain lucid on a daily basis to the best of our ability. And we're here to catalyze the awakening of others. So it's very important that we do keep our own mind cleansed, cleared, and free from the expectations and self-sabotaging lower belief forms, and to redirect our thoughts and to rephrase things that may seem immediately offensive when you take them personally. If you allow these perceptions to rest back upon the person that is speaking them, like even if I say something that gets your shackles up, allow that to be somebody else's message, and take what you need from it. And I did want one more here. So we've got first breath, beginner's mind. That's so perfect. I'm going to put that right in the center. We're talking about those astrological influences and juggling those aspects of ourselves, being in the divine flow and feeling the flux of emotion when you're wanting something very much, wanting to pursue something, and feeling the counterproductive element of wanting to dig in your heels for fear of change or fear of the acceleration, fear of the unknown, and clinging to the predictability and protection of being in your solitary energy. It's time to gather together, and it's all coming forward. And so an additional message with that mindful groupthink, I'm getting new people in my experience, calling them in on my local level as well, and I'm experiencing such delight in these mindful thinkers, not full mental, but mindful. So they're not engaged in groupthink, they're helping individuals to navigate their own by virtue of their own ability to navigate their own internal waters, their own internal struggles, and to specialize in what they know and to remain in that beginner's mind when somebody else is telling them. And sometimes I will find myself giving advice, if you haven't noticed, when advice is always for the self. And I was recognizing today, one of those messages coming through is always recognize that advice giving is often a barrier to true listening. Active listening is quite a different topic, and without getting too much further into that, these are the things that we're breaking free from with this blowing the old dogma out of the water, out of the consciousness, with the resonance of our heart truth and the flow of messages that are coming in. I love this card. Under the deck, 18, Mother Fierce, is so beautiful to me. The multi-dimensionality in the faces that are looking all these directions is reminding me very clearly that 360-degree view, insightedness of the third eye. And Mother Fierce reminding me of that aspect of earthly nurturance and protection coming in from maintaining that inter-center sacred fire, the sacred flame of self. And these ones popped out, and the only one that popped out in the upright was Gates of Heaven, which is another powerful card in this deck, number 12. The Gates of Heaven talks about negative or perhaps lower energy, lower vibrational entities being attached to our energy field, or maybe we're perceiving spirit forces in our life, and we're evacuating, exterminating, evicting. There's a word, I'm struggling to get it, but we're exorcising the demons. That's what we're doing. We're allowing with loving detachment to release ourselves from those reliable but unhealthy, toxic attached energies, even if those lower vibrational entities are things that we're nurturing through recounting old remembrances of pain, suffering, or betrayal, and taking back energy from those, extricating our energy field from theirs, liberating those energies, not just cutting free and letting them cast out into the ethers. But I was taught by my mentor to transmute those energies in a specific way. As we as we alleviate those energies from our own field, to kind of gather those energies in some type of an energetic ball, compress and intend that energy to be compressed, and then I enjoy pushing it down into the ground, into the earth sometimes, and other times I do it other ways, and then imagining that energy coming back up, restored, renewed. It's just like the toxins from yucky water. You can put them through a series of different dimensional stones and smaller sand particles. As it goes down, it will filter through those layers of aggregate and come out cleansed on the other end. So black water remediation, things like that. It's the same type of thing with this conscious ball around us, and the energies that become attracted and magnetized are not all healthy. The residues of old experiences need to be not only liberated, but seen through with the grace and the gratitude that says, thank you for that lesson. I've learned all that I need to at this present moment. I thank you for your presence in my life, but I no longer need you. I no longer require you. I let you be liberated. And as I release this into the earth to be cleansed and purified, I also am going to assist the earth and call that renewed energy back up, and also cast it out into the ethers, like uploading my information to the YouTube cloud. You can do the same thing energetically in the silence of your own mind with intentionality, and casting those vibrations outward from yourself, casting and singing your soul harmonic resonance out into the ethers. The vortex knows everything that you have ever put into the vortex about what you desire, what you deserve, what you came here to do, what you're called to do, what you've always thought you would be amazing at, but never gave yourself permission, time, space, energy, and attention enough to do so. Don't remain too busy with everyone else's agendas, that you're busy working menial tasks instead of doing your work. With the gates of heaven, the card, the threshold, is a specific card that comes out with gates of heaven to evidence somebody who is specifically working with transmutation of lower spiritual entity attachments. So I wanted to think of and speak on this earlier as well. When we get caught up in addictive patterns, especially things like alcohol. I am somebody who has really enjoyed alcohol in my life, but I do understand that alcohol absolutely opens up different portals and different gateways of energetic openings and holes in the aura, when used especially repeatedly, that allow those lower vibrational thought forms to infiltrate and integrate into our field. And we won't really know it if we don't engage in regular cleansing and clearing and purging of what doesn't serve practices, whatever that looks like in your life. So the threshold here is, at the threshold we stand ready and willing and able, delighted to make this transition into a life that we have always seen, and it's a life beyond fear-based reality. And we've got 4 other cards popping out with that. Shining Lotus, somebody accepting their beauty, taking a little more time to appreciate themselves. And beauty can come out on every level. It's not all superficial. Everybody here knows that, I'm sure. Weave the future golden. Every stitch, every word, every syllable, every thought that you intone becomes you. So speak yourself into reality with kindness, grace, love, and acceptance, compassion, and integrate all of those shadowy bits as well. Blessings of the new moon maiden. I said new, but maybe full moon coming up. We've got the full moon lunar eclipse, right? There's blessings on the way to us. Empress of the Pearl. This is somebody who's casting off inhibitions, I'm seeing. The pearl is something that gets formulated by those silty sand particles that get into the shell, right? We were talking about that earlier. And they grind you, they create animosity, inner complexes. But these complexes are also divine because they are also placed there. They're part of the divine matrix fabric that is weaving ourselves. It's stitching ourselves into being. And if we want to create a life that we don't need to have a vacation from, then that comes in every moment, every choice. And maybe we'll just leave it at that. Compression, tension, all of those things activate our inner treasure. And then at a specific time, it's just time to release those pearls. That was 45, 9, culmination energy, hermit energy. And we did have that 9 on the board under the 19. Interesting. All right, so a down message to close us off. Thank you so much for viewing all of this. Looking forward to your interactions, your comments, like, share, subscribe if you like these messages. 73. The Tao is always at ease. It overcomes without competing, answers without speaking a word, arrives without being summoned, accomplishes without a plan. Its net covers the whole universe, and though its meshes are wide, it doesn't let a thing slip through. Definitely, we're stitching something. I was seeing an image in my mind about a fabric bridge, stitching a bridge of light with other light workers, energy workers, healers, advocators, messengers, channels coming together. Whether or not we ever interact with each other on the etheric level, we're all contributing to something very profound and incredible. And allow yourself to bring up all of those old toxins deep from the taproot of the earth through your awareness of what doesn't serve. And as you choose to look at these compassionately, detached, you're able to then transmute and alleviate these energies from your energy. And as it is brought back up, cleansed and renewed, that energy is the nectar that feeds the world. So shine, you crazy diamond. Right. Okay. Here we go. We'll end on that note. So thank you again so much for being with me today. And I'll probably do one more recording today, either ancestors or a zodiac upload. Looking forward to more messages in the future. Take care. Bye.